Cheetah R.A.T. You know, that sounds a bit like something you'd say to your partner. You know, if you came home early from work one time and found them in bed with someone else, you might scream Cheetah R.A.T. at them. But yeah, I don't know why I said that, because that's absolutely not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the Cheetah R.A.T., which is this thing. It's a joystick that was made for the Sinclair Spectrum by Cheetah Marketing, and it stands for Remote Action Transmitter. And it solves a problem that I didn't even know existed. And it's, what if you wanted to control your ZX Spectrum from up to 15 feet away? Well, Cheetah had the answer for you. And it came out in 1984, and it was quite aggressively marketed as the joystick to make all of the joysticks obsolete. A little bit cocky, in my opinion, but there you go. So yeah, it's basically a joystick, and it works as a Kempston interface. And if you're looking at it and you're thinking, well, that looks an awful lot like a remote control, well, yeah, there's a good reason for that, because it basically is a remote control. It's an infrared remote control, and it uses an infrared remote control chip that was very common at the time. So it's a very simple thing. It's in a sort of grey case. There's no actual buttons or switches as such on it. It's got this membrane, so it's very like the ZX81. So there's no real tactile sensation there, but you've got your direction. So it looks like it's got an 8-way direction, although it technically doesn't. We'll go into that later. You've got a fire button. You've got your infrared receivers, and then on the back, well, it takes a 9-volt battery, so nothing exciting there. It also came with this, which is what you plug into the back of the Specky, and it's just the interface, it's just the receiver. So a little infrared receiver there. And it's as simple as that. You would plug it into the back of the Spectrum, you would select Kempston on your game, and you would play away. So I bought this about a year ago, I think it was now, and it was sold to me as untested. You know, the way people advertise things as untested. And when I got it, it was in a bit of a state. It was very yellowed. I've since retrobrighted it. It looks a lot better now. But first of all, I couldn't get it to work. It absolutely didn't work. And I thought, well, fair enough. I bought it as untested. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's the risk you take, I suppose. But then if you look around the edges of the case, let's see if I can get this into focus and show. There's gouge marks in the sides. The clips are broken at the front. Gouge marks on the other side and on the back as well, where somebody's tried to hack their way into it. So I'm guessing it wasn't as untested as they said. I think it's been clearly broken. Somebody's clearly tried to force their way into it unsuccessfully. And then they've sold it to me as untested, which is really, really annoying. If something's genuinely untested, I don't mind. But what I don't like is somebody selling you something that's knowingly faulty as untested. But I'll tell you what's really annoying about this, and what really, really rattles me is, had they said to me, this is broken, this is faulty, we're still going to charge you a silly amount of money for it, I'd have probably still bought it, because that's the sort of lunatic I am. But anyway, it does work now. A few parts later, it wanted a new remote control chip. I'll go into that later. And the transistor had gone as well. It's funny that 2 active components are blown, so I don't know whether they've had the wrong polarity plugged in or they've used the wrong type of battery. I don't know. It was broken. Now it works. Yeah. So looks like the previous owner tried to fix it, couldn't get in. If you've got one of these and you're unsure about how to do that yourself, there's clips at the front and clips at the back, and then there's a screw in the middle. It's right behind the membrane. So just a word of caution, if you want to take this apart, you do need to peel up the membrane and undo the screw, and I would suggest doing that very, very gently. I spent a good hour peeling mine up, so I'd start with a little corner and I'd get a little bit of IPA in there and just lift it and lift it and lift it until it came. Because I didn't want to damage this, because I'm fairly certain I'm not going to get a replacement for it. So I took my time. I would recommend you do the same. Inside, in fact, I can show you inside. I'll put a picture up. Yeah, very simple affair. There was the controller chip, which was faulty, which is, let me get my glasses and I'll just read the part number for you. Yeah, it's an SL490B. It's an old chip made by Plessey, designed and made by Plessey, I should say, and it was a fairly common infrared remote control chip of the time. It is now a very rare chip to find. They are available, they are online, they are extremely expensive. In fact, I think one seller online wanted 40 quid for the chip. yeah, you can whistle, pal. I did manage to find a drop-in replacement, which is an identical chip, but it was made by ST. It's got a different part number. I can't remember what that is off the top of my head, but I'll put it on the screen. I got that chip for just over £2 delivered. It's also an obsolete chip, but they seem to be a lot more readily available. So yeah, it needed that. It needed a transistor, and it seems to be fully functional now. I was talking about the touchpad, and I was saying it looks like you've got your 8 directions of fire. Well, it's not. It's actually 4 directions. In fact, let me just show you a picture of the back of the membrane. You can see what I'm talking about. So you've got your 4 pads. So if you want to go diagonally, you've got to kind of mash your thumb across both the pads or use 2 fingers. It's not the most intuitive thing to use. So, like I said, it just goes into the back of the Spectrum, simple as. You'll notice, actually, the actual socket, there's not a lot of length on that. So it only just goes into the back of the Spectrum. I don't know why they haven't made that a little bit longer, because that does cause problems. So you'll notice there's a little, you can see it, a little step there in the moulding, and that fits just nicely. The Spectrum rubber keyed. And it goes in. Nice and snug, and it clears the power sockets and the mic in here without any problems. And then if you want to plug any extra peripherals in the back, well, you've got your expansion out the back as well. So not a problem at all. The problems start when you want to use the plus case. So again, you would normally just plug it in the back as normal, but you'll notice, because of the shape of the case, it just doesn't fit. You can sort of wedge it in at an angle, and sometimes you'll get a decent connection and sometimes you won't, more often the latter. So I've got to say, this isn't really compatible with the plus cases, and that's an issue. I can only assume that this wasn't manufactured when they were out. Although 1984, I think the plus case came out, so who knows. Anyway, yeah. This does not fit a plus case with a reliable connection. This socket is just too short. I suppose it could be modified to make that longer, but as it comes, yeah, not compatible. It's the same situation with the Plus 2. Although I tested it with the Plus 2 grey model, and what I did is I took the outer case off and I just plugged the bare board right into the back of the computer, and it worked fine. It does with the Plus cases as well. I tested it with a Plus 2A. No dice. No, it just doesn't work. So, first of all, the board is so wide that it actually obscures part of the power socket, which you can kind of just about get it in. But even when you do that, it just won't recognise this as a device at all on the Plus 2A. I'm going to assume the Plus 3 is the same as well. I didn't test it. I didn't see any point. But yeah. Rubber keys, you're fine. Plus case, the grey Spectrum, you're going to have to strip the case off it. In fact, that's what I'm going to do now, because I'm going to test this. I'm going to show it working, and I want an RGB socket for my video capture. So I'm going to use, I think, I'm going to use that. So that means I'll have to take this out of the case. There we go. Things you've got to do. And there we go. And that is the only way I can get this to be compatible with a Plus case, but it does actually work like that, so yeah. Alright, cool. Let's play some games. Let's see what we've got. So, hooked up to the video capture, so hopefully you're seeing this on another screen, although I'm using RF because it's the way I've got everything hooked up at the moment. It's just easier to set up that way. I'm having video capture problems, but yeah. Let's try little discs of death. Alright, let's give this a go. So we'll set it for Kempston, so 4, we'll set it for level 1, and let's not muck about. Right, we're playing. So, well, it works, but straight away it's not intuitive at all. I suppose I could play it one-handed, but yeah, let's see if I can defeat the guy. There's also a noticeable delay. I mean, it's only like a fraction of a second after you press it, but it's definitely got a delay. Oh. Come on. Hey, there we go. Okay, so it does work. But that delay is just a little bit annoying. Now, I've read a few reviews on this from back in the day, and they all said it works. Oh, God. They all said it works well. Oh. Sorry, distracted talking to the camera. Yeah, they all said it works well, and none of them seem to mention this delay issue. So I don't know whether something's just a bit out of... Oh, you know, you go for the fire button, and then you go for the directions, and I can't get my hand over there quickly enough, so I suppose maybe if I use two hands it might be easier to control. This does not feel good in the hand at all. No, I went to press backwards, then they ended up going the wrong way. I do not like the way this feels, and there's no feedback from it at all because it's a membrane. Hey, there we go. Okay. I'll have one more go, we'll have one more level and we'll try another game. But yeah, anything where you've got to move quickly, it's not good because it almost feels too big to control, if that makes sense. So if you had a joystick, you could move it around and then you've got your fire button wherever with the other hand. With this, it's awkward. You're holding your hands at an awkward angle, trying to play. I don't like it. I don't know why they couldn't shape it more like a joystick, and it would have made more sense. They could have had the same electronics inside. But it does at least work. Yeah, that is not my preferred way to play. But let's try another game. Alright, let's try this. This is a pretty fast-moving game, so let's have Kempston. I think that delay might cause a problem here. And also, yeah, oh, actually, it's not so bad. It's just getting to the fire button as well. It just feels wrong. Oh God, I'm doing terribly. Do you know, if I can complete one level, I'll be happy. Come on, get in. There we go. Okay, I'm happy. Try again. See if I can actually shoot something this time. Yeah, I can kind of hold the fire button down and steer with my other hand, but it just... Again, you're holding it at a weird angle. No, I'm dead. Okay, yeah, not a fan of that one. Let's try another game. So again, we'll set it for Kempston with the worst menu system in any game ever, which is this one. Come on. No, we don't want that. There we go, Kempston. Yes, we'll have an easy game. Okay, so this should be a lot better to play with this because you don't need any fast movements. Again, there's just that slight lag when you press the button before it does something, but yeah, no, this is fine. Although, having said that, if I want to go diagonal, as I showed earlier, there's no diagonal pad. You've got to use sort of both hands to do it. But yeah, if you're playing something like this, a bit of lag really isn't a problem. As for the buttons themselves, well, there's no real feel to them, as you'd expect, but you don't have to mash them. I mean, a gentle press is enough as long as you press it in the right place. Yeah, I could probably play this game like this without any problems, although I've no intentions of doing that now because you can spend half an hour playing this game. I still managed to lose. So yeah, so there you go. There's a look at that. It's a brilliant idea. I love the idea of it, an infrared joystick. I just don't like the actual design of it. I think it looks too much like a remote control. If they'd just made it into a joystick, because I mean, Cheetah were manufacturing plenty of different joysticks. They could have put the guts from this into one of those and come up with a really, really good product. Instead, they got something that looks like a remote control. And from reports I've read online, I don't know how true it is, there were issues that using this would actually change the channel on some TVs. And if it's a fairly standard infrared chip, which it is in there, well, I can believe it as well. So yeah, so that'd just be an extra complication, I suppose. You're trying to put masking tape over the sensor on your telly while you're playing a game. But yeah, it's a brilliant idea. I'm just not impressed with the overall finish of it. But I don't know. That's my opinion. What do you think? Did you have one in the day? Oh, and if you did have one in the day, can I ask, did you have that lag problem? Because none of the reports of the day, none of the reviews mention it at all. So maybe something's got a bit out of whack. I don't know. I did recap it. I did recap this as well. It made no difference, even though the capacitors that I tested that pulled out of this were not in good condition. But hey. But there are a couple of trim pots on it, so a bit of calibration might be possible. I don't know. Anyway, that's enough for me. I hope you found that interesting. This is the only one I've ever seen, actually, other than other people's videos. You don't see them up for sale very often, so I'm assuming they're quite rare. And they're probably quite rare because they're not very good. I don't know. But, yeah. That's mine. It's probably going to go back in the box now, and it's probably going to stay there because I think it's awful to use. Love the idea. The actual delivery is terrible. But hey, thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you on the next one, and have a good evening. Bye.